जय गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन। यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय राधा माधव राधा माधव राधे। जय राधा गोपीनाथ राधा गोपीनाथ राधे। जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद। नित्य गौर हरिबो 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 नित्य गौर हरिबो। जय ओम श्रीपाद परमहंस प्रभुचार्य अष्टोत्तर श्री श्रीमद भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी शिल प्रभुपाद की जय। ओम श्रीपाद परमहंस प्रभुचार्य अष्टोत्तर श्री श्रीमद भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर महाराज शिल प्रभुपाद की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की नामाचार्य शिल हरिदास ठाकुर की ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवत महापुराण की। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 7, entitled Further Inquiries by Vidura. Text number 39. Nimittani cha tasyeha proktani anaga surabhi swato jnanam kuta pumsam bhaktir vairagyam eva va nimittani cha tasyeha proktani anagha surabhi swato jnanam kuta pumsam bhaktir vairagyam eva va nimittani cha tasyeha proktani anagha surabhi swato jnanam kuta pumsam bhaktir vairagyam eva va nimittani cha tasyeha surabhi swato jnanam kuta pumsam bhaktir vairagyam eva va nimittani cha tasyeha proktani anagha surabhi nimittani cha tasyeha proktani surabhi kuta pumsam bhaktir vairagyam eva va nimittani, the source of knowledge. Cha, also. Tasya, of such knowledge. Iha, in this world. Proktani, mentioned. Anagha, spotless. Suribhi, by devotees. Swataha, self-sufficient. Jnanam, knowledge. Kutaha, how. Pumsam, of the living entity. Bhakti, devotional service. Vairagyam, detachment. Eva, certainly. Va, also. Translation. Spotless devotees of the Lord have mentioned the source of such knowledge. How could one have knowledge of devotional service and detachment without the help of such devotees? Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. There are many inexperienced persons who advocate self-realization without the help of a spiritual master. They decry the necessity of a spiritual master and try themselves to take his place by propagating theory that a spiritual master is not necessary. Srimad Bhagavatam, however, does not approve this viewpoint. Even the great transcendental scholar Vyasdev had need of a spiritual master. And under the instructions of his spiritual master Narada, he prepared his sublime literature, Srimad Bhagavatam. Even Lord Chaitanya, although he is Krishna himself, accepted a spiritual master. Even Lord Krishna accepted a spiritual master, Sandipini Muni, in order to be enlightened. And all the acharyas and saints of the world had spiritual masters. In the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna accepted Lord Krishna as a spiritual master, although there was no necessary for such a formal declaration. So, in all cases, there is no question about the necessity of accepting a spiritual master. The only stipulation is that the spiritual master should be bona fide. That is, the spiritual master must be in proper chain of disciplic succession called the Parampara system. Suris are great scholars, but they may not always be anagha or spotless. The anagha Suri is one who is a pure devotee of the Lord. Those who are not pure devotees of the Lord or who want to be on an equal level with him are not anagha Suri. Pure devotees have prepared many books of knowledge on the basis of authorized scriptures. Srila Rupa Goswami and his associates and his assistants, under the instructions of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, have all written various literatures for the guidance of prospective devotees. And anyone who is very serious about raising himself to the standard of a pure devotee of the Lord must take advantage of these literatures. Om Agyantimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuronmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutaha Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Shute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarobhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaeva Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. In today's purport, Srila Prabhupada is bringing out a very beautiful and a very important aspect of our spiritual journeys. The understanding that this translation and purport is specifically giving us is the role and relevance of the spiritual master in our lives. The translation over here, this verse ends by, if you look at the specific translation that Srila Prabhupada has given to this particular verse, he ends the sentence by saying, how could one have knowledge of devotional service and detachment without the help of such devotees? So essentially, the role of a spiritual master and the role of devotees in our lives is being emphasized in this particular purport and verse. In all of our lives, we have different types of spiritual masters. There are Diksha Gurus and Siksha Gurus. There are teachers who have helped us understand Krishna consciousness to a great extent, and they are also helping us further. So today, we're going to be analyzing and discussing what are the different gifts the spiritual master gives us. Considering that Balram Jayanti is coming up, very soon, next Saturday is Balram Jayanti. So it is very apt to discuss this and prepare ourselves on our consciousness for welcoming Balramji, who is the original spiritual master in our lives, and also acknowledging all the spiritual masters who have played any role in our lives, small or big. So today we'll be spending some time in understanding what all gifts we have got from our spiritual master. So every single gift that we have got from our spiritual master, we'll be trying to understand it and meditate on it and express our gratitude to our teachers, to our gurus, for what they have given us. Obviously, there is nothing that we can do to repay back for what they have given us. It's a debt that we are eternally indebted towards. Our Padapadaksha gurus, our present gurus, our Diksha gurus, our Shiksha gurus, and so many gurus who have enlightened our path. So this session is a offering and a mark of gratitude towards all those spiritual masters and teachers. The primary role of a spiritual master in our life is that he gives us what we know as insights. I'll begin with a small story, and then we'll look at that story from a point of view of insights. When Krishna and all his friends, they would play in Vrindavan, different games. Every single game that they played was very, very exciting. And they had so many spectators. All the monkeys, all the animals, all the birds, they would stop everything and they would watch Krishna play his games. This is the original Commonwealth Games, this is the original Olympic Games, this is the original idea of, spectacular, games. When Krishna Balaram would play all these games, there is not a single game that they have not played. All the games that are there in Olympics today are originated in Vrindavan, in those playgrounds of Govardhan. So one day, Krishna wanted to play hide and seek. Now, if Krishna hides, who can find him? It's impossible to find him, right? And therefore, Krishna, this was his favorite game, hide and seek. All other friends did not like that game because Krishna always won. And they hated to play that game. And Krishna lost all other games. So he loved this one game, because he was master at hiding. The yogis tried to find Krishna for thousands of years and they're still not able to discover him. And therefore Krishna thought, I will always win this game. And one day he began to play hide and seek with his friends and he went to hide. And within a matter of 2-3 minutes, his friends found Krishna. And Krishna was shocked. Krishna asked his friends, how did you find me? The yogis can't find me after thousands of years of tapasya. And you found me literally in 2-3 minutes. The friends told Krishna, it was very simple. We looked up at the sky, there was no clouds. And we saw the peacocks were dancing and singing so much in joy. And then we simply started looking in the direction in which the peacocks saw. And when we saw the direction in which peacocks were seeing, we could see you. The peacocks saw the body of Krishna, Shama Sundar, and they began to experience the joy of a rain cloud and began to dance. The Acharyas give a very beautiful insight to this. They say that if you want to see Krishna, if you want to find Krishna, look for Krishna in the voice of his devotees. Somewhere in the voice of his devotees, Krishna is hidden. All of us in our own lives, there are so many lectures that we hear. There are so many books of Srila Prabhupada that we read. This story teaches us a very important idea of how we should hear those lectures and how we should read Srila Prabhupada's books. The understanding is, Krishna is hidden somewhere there. Obviously, he is not so visible. He is not clearly visible. But if you very focusedly hear the voice of the devotees, somewhere in the voice of the devotees you will find Krishna. That means every lecture you hear, you will hear one powerful insight in that lecture, if you focus well. Most of the times we hear lectures mechanically. When we hear a lecture mechanically, we tend to think that I already know this point, I already know this story, I already know this. So when we hear it mechanically, we will never be able to find any insight within that lecture. But if we hear attentively, even if you have heard every single concept, the speaker will speak something that will hit you hard. And that's your insight for the day. So every single lecture you hear, if you even get one insight, it will help you come closer to Krishna. Every time you read Srila Prabhupada's books, invariably you will find at least one sentence that hits you very hard. That's the insight. So the first gift the spiritual master gives us is such insights. Whatever progress we have made in our spiritual lives is usually due to such insights. Now imagine, if we get such an insight once a year, how fortunate we feel. But imagine if we get that insight every day, how much fortunate we will feel. So as much as possible, we should look for deeper insights in the words of the spiritual master, in the writings of great teachers, in whenever we hear or whenever we observe anything, somewhere there will be an insight. And that's something that we can take home. Each of us want to be happy and are trying so much to be happy in this world. But to be happy in this world, what does one need? Do you need great strength to eat a gulab jamun? And do you require a lot of strength to eat gulab jamun? Obviously, you don't. You can just eat it just like that, right? But when we are going through a chaos in this world, especially the way the world is designed, it is designed to frustrate us. Srila Prabhupada, in a class in 1969, he gave a very beautiful understanding. He was addressing a group of hippies. Now imagine a 1969 lecture. And in that phase, there were hardly any devotees, very few devotees. And the maximum people in that audience were all hippies. And Prabhupada was giving a lecture to them, wearing all kinds of clothes and with all kinds of consciousness and mindsets they were sitting, And Prabhupada he spoke in that lecture. He said, I appreciate you hippies very much. And the hippies were shocked. He is the first person ever appreciating us. And he said, though everyone tells you that you are frustrated, he said, I appreciate your frustration. First time anyone appreciated the frustration. In that era, the hippie era, the reason all these boys and girls became hippies, because they were frustrated with the system. They were frustrated with their situation. I think more or less the world is reaching that phase again, Everywhere so much chaos is going on. And it's a matter of some time people will be frustrated. Anybody makes any statement, any leader does any kind of decisions, random stuff is happening. Tsunami is happening here, and earthquake happening there, planes are crashing. It's like very chaotic world, Some people want to delete 2025 from their life, So it's a world that is very frustrating. So Srila Prabhupada said, I appreciate your frustration. And then he said, the goal of human life is to become frustrated. And I mean, this is the best way of defining human life. It's the best way of defining the human form of life. And Srila Prabhupada said that one should be frustrated with the enjoyments of this world. And he said, these hippies have attained siddhi in this aspect. They have attained siddhi in this aspect of being frustrated with this world, So, till the point we are frustrated with the pleasures of this world, we won't get the mercy of Balaram. We won't get the mercy of the spiritual master. So therefore, another very interesting meaning of the word Balaram. So one meaning of the word Balaram is to get strength. Bala means strength. But the other meaning of the word Balaram is to have the strength to say no to the false pleasures of this world, to say no to the temptations of this world, and to say yes to the real pleasures of this world. This is a second gift of the spiritual master to us. The spiritual master has given us an understanding that there is a world beyond this world. If you talk to anyone who is not connected to Krishna consciousness, and if you look at your own lives before you came to the path of Krishna consciousness, we always thought pleasure is in buying good clothes, pleasure is in eating good food, pleasure is in having a good job and having a good family, a good house, a good car. And then we come to the path of Krishna consciousness where we are exposed to pleasures beyond all this. That is a gift that the spiritual master has given us. He has introduced us to a world that was unknown to us. So, when we come to the path of Krishna consciousness, we are weak. But when we associate with devotees and chant the holy name, we begin to acquire strength. We begin to slowly acquire strength. So, when we are in the association of devotees, when we are in the company of devotees, we might think that we are actually strong. But the moment we step out of the company of devotees, that is when our strength is tested. Like many years back, one of our brahmacharis, he had undergone a panchakarma treatment. And after undergoing, he was already very thin. And after panchakarma, he really became a bag of bones, very, very thin. And he was going for book distribution in the train. And while doing book distribution in the train, someone was teasing him constantly, There are many of these young people, just like really want to bug you, So one person was teasing him like anything. So this devotee went and hit him. And then he came back to the temple, and he said, I hit this person, He was teasing me too much. And then the devotees are totally bewildered. First of all, you are so thin. On top of that, you went through panchakarma treatment. You have no strength only. How come you had the strength to hit this fellow? First he was not telling. And then eventually he said, that person was thinner than me. So our strength, we exhibit according to the size of the opponent. See, the opponent is more powerful than us, then what strength we will exhibit, isn't it? But if the opponent is thinner than us or weaker than us, we will show that we are very, very powerful and strong. So the path of bhakti is such that we are practicing the path of bhakti in Kali Yuga. And Kali Yuga is much more stronger than us. And in Kali Yuga, you show your strength. I am practicing Krishna consciousness. And then Maya will give you one tight slap. And that's all. You realize I have no strength only. And that is why we need the association of devotees. We constantly need the association of devotees. We need the environment in which we can feel strong. That is a gift of the spiritual master. The strength that the spiritual master gives us is by allowing us to remain in an environment where we can feel strong. where we can feel that I also have the strength to say no to temptations. I also have the strength to say yes to the spiritual rasas. So this is the third gift of the spiritual master. He gives us the gift of strength. Strength to say no to temptations and strength to say yes to the real pleasures of this world. When we look at the way Krishna was born in this world, so Balaram was born first, and he went to the womb of Rohini. So logically, if you look at it, if Balaram was anywhere to be born in the womb of Rohini, why did he go first in the womb of Devaki and then move? Was it of course, the Lord can choose his parents, right? The Lord can choose who his mother and father is. Did Balaram have like a sudden change of thought? No, I made a wrong mistake, I entered wrong womb. Let me go to Rohini's womb. Was it a mistake on the part of Balaram? No. It was purposely done because Balaram is a spiritual master, and the principle that Balaram was establishing over here, this is the work of the Adi Guru. The work of the Adi Guru is to clear the environment for Krishna to appear. He creates an environment where Krishna can appear over there. So Balaram, he creates an environment which is conducive for Krishna to come. It is explained that when all our hearts are very much like Devaki's womb, we are, our hearts are dark, our hearts are very, very dingy, our hearts are very closed, nobody can enter our hearts. And in such an environment, Krishna has to enter, then the heart has to be clean. So just like, in many hotels and, many places, there is food checks that happen, right? So there are safety officers who randomly go to a hotel and check the cleanliness, check the ingredients, and if things are wrong, they completely disqualify, the license is cancelled. Similarly, Balaram does a quality check before Krishna comes into our hearts. So the spiritual master's role is to create an environment in the heart which is conducive for Krishna to enter. Every time the Guru, the spiritual master, gives a lecture, he is trying to raise our consciousness for welcoming Krishna into our hearts. There are two levels at which the spiritual master speaks. There is a gross level and there is a subtle level. As we come to the path of Krishna consciousness, we follow the principles of Krishna consciousness very grossly, very easily. The gross aspect is easier to follow, but the subtle aspect is more difficult to follow. The four regulative principles. The gross aspect is one part, but the subtle aspect is a very, very different part. Like say, for example, when we say that we want to not eat meat. What is the meaning of not eating meat? The idea of not eating meat on the dinner table or the lunch table, that's the easy part. We don't consume flesh. We're compassionate towards animals. But the subtle part of the same principle is that we are compassionate to everyone. Many times, what I have observed is that devotees are highly compassionate on the dining table. So that means the food on their plate is highly compassionate food. But they are highly non-compassionate towards devotees who are sitting with them on the table. So we are compassionate towards animals, but we are highly uncompassionate towards human beings. The words that we speak hurt so badly. The words that come out from our mouth hurt the person's heart so badly. That's worse than eating animals from a Vaishnava deeper perspective. So what is the point in saying that I follow this when I'm not understanding the principle that is underlying that? it's easy to say I don't eat meat. But is it easy to say I follow the principle of compassion in my life? So the spiritual master first exposes us to the gross understanding of Krishna consciousness and then exposes us to the subtle understanding of Krishna consciousness. The gross understanding can be practiced in first 1-2 years of coming into the movement. But the subtle understanding takes a lifetime. How many times we have heard the word Trinadapi Suni Chena from our spiritual master? Can anybody say, I am following it? It's very easy to speak about it, but it's very difficult to follow it in our own personal lives. When someone does not do something that we like, when someone does not treat us the way we like, how difficult it is to tolerate it. I remember many years back, some devotees were going on book distribution. And there was one man. So this devotee was speaking to one person trying to sell him a book. And as this devotee was speaking, trying to sell him a book, this man spat in the devotee's mouth straight. Can you imagine? This man spat straight in the mouth of a devotee. And this devotee comes back. Doesn't retaliate, doesn't say anything, doesn't do anything. And he comes back and he's sharing his realization. You know what he says? His realization is, I felt bad that I was speaking Krishna Katha from my mouth and he spat on that. What a realization this is, isn't it? This is a deeper understanding of Krishna consciousness. Many years back, I'm not going to name the devotee, but so this is an incident that has stayed in my mind for such a long time. This is like, I would have heard about this 15 years back maybe, Two of our devotees were traveling in a bus. And, the bus was moving, and obviously, in a bus, people keep vomiting randomly, isn't it? So, these two devotees were sitting in a bus, and one person from behind vomited on a devotee's head. Vomited. Can you imagine? Vomited, And this devotee didn't get up. Didn't even move his head, didn't even wipe the thing away. Just sat there for, whatever amount of time it reached to reach the next destination, like some stop where the bus stops. And then he went off and he was like missing for quite some time. So this other devotee, he was little, not understanding where. So he went searching for him and he saw him washing his head, in a tap over there. So this devotee asked him what happened. And then this devotee told him, this person in the back vomited on my head. And this devotee was shocked. He said, why didn't you retaliate? Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you, you could have easily made a scene out of it, right? And this devotee, what an insight, what an amazing thought. He said, that person is already embarrassed by vomiting. I didn't want to embarrass him further by, talking about it, showing him down, He just kept quiet. I was thinking, humility, speaking about humility is one thing, and living humility is a totally different thing, isn't it? So, I feel this is something that we can learn from the spiritual master, the subtler aspect. So, Balaram comes first, and he creates the environment in which Krishna can come. What is the meaning of creating the environment in which Krishna can come? Creating the environment in which Krishna can come means Krishna will only come when there is an attitude that is conducive for him. So for us, the gross environment is created very easily. The gross environment is created very easily. We follow the regulated principle, we chant 16 rounds, we do, we wear kanti mala, we wear, tilak, and we really do all the gross things very fast. But the subtle environment in the heart, it takes lifetimes to be created. It takes lifetimes to be created. And that is primarily what the spiritual master is trying to do. You hear so many lectures of the spiritual master. The spiritual master is hinting us towards these subtle things. Small things that we just don't keep in mind. And the deeper we understand the spiritual master's message, the deeper we understand the mood of the spiritual master, the faster Krishna will appear in our lives, in our hearts. Srila Prabhupada has this very famous story in which a man comes to Srila Prabhupada and he asks him that in 12 years you have created such a powerful empire. How did you do it? How did you manage to create such a powerful empire from 40 rupees to 40 crores in a matter of 12 years? Can you please give us an idea? And this was pre-social media time. This was all the, technology time. Imagine 10,000 disciples in 12 years in almost every country in the world, 108 temples. It's not a joke, right? So this man really wanted to know, how did he do this? Srila Prabhupada, he made it very simple. He said, I chanted Hare Krishna and Krishna provided. What a simple message it is, isn't it? I mean, if anybody else was in Srila Prabhupada's place, they would have made a PowerPoint presentation on how I did it. My story of growth. He could have made a podcast on it. He could have made a course on how I created from 40 rupees to 40 crores and what I did to achieve this. Prabhupada completely took himself off the picture and he simply said, I prayed to Krishna and Krishna helped. That's all. He didn't put himself in the limelight. So the role of the spiritual master is a very, very interesting role. He wants to give Krishna the glory. He wants to give Krishna the credit for everything that happens in his life. And that's the teaching that the spiritual master gives all of us. That's the gift that spiritual master gives all of us. Get out from this whole idea of you are the doer. Get out from this whole idea that it's all about you. Especially in today's world of social media, this is so relevant and so important. We have got so much into this idea that it's all about me. So much into this idea that I need to be in the forefront. Yes, the devotee needs to be in the forefront to give the message out of Krishna. But eventually, Krishna has to be ahead of us, isn't it? That's the whole mood. Balaramji, he does a very interesting role in outside of Vrindavan. So the role that Balaramji does outside of Vrindavan is a role called Viparita Rasa. What is the meaning of Viparita Rasa? Viparita Rasa essentially means opposition party. In today's world, opposition party has a very important role to play, isn't it? And some people love the opposition party, some people hate the opposition party, whatever it is. Balram does this role in Krishna Leela of the opposition party. He becomes a guru of Duryodhan. Srila Prabhupada named one of his disciples Duryodhan Guru Das. What a name, isn't it? So why does Balram go and become guru of Duryodhan in opposition party? The reason he does that, the reason he trains Duryodhan is so that he can give a good opposition to Krishna. And that increases the rasa of the fight. Imagine if the opposition has no dum at all, absolutely no capacity. There's no fun only in the fight, isn't it? There's no joy in that fight. There's no rasa in that fight. So Balram goes there and creates a powerful opposition. And that's when the rasa becomes very interesting. So the spiritual master, he apparently seems to be doing a role which is very conducive for Krishna. So when you explain the whole idea of how things happened, Srila Prabhupada, just see how he put it. I just prayed to Krishna and Krishna manifested. So he is not taking the glory to himself. So Balram is not, it's not about him. It's about Krishna. So Balram is creating Duryodhan so powerful. Why? So that Krishna can become more glorious. So that Krishna can have more glory. If Duryodhan was a weakling, how will Krishna become more glorious? Isn't it? So Balram understands that this guy is a weak fellow. He can't do anything in front of Krishna. Let me first make him strong. so that Krishna gets more glory, right? So the whole mood of Balaram, the whole mood of the spiritual master is, it's not about me. And in the process of making Duryodhan powerful, the whole world misunderstands Balaram. It doesn't matter. As long as Krishna has good fun, it doesn't matter. So that's the mood of the spiritual master. And that's the mood that spiritual master is trying to gift us. Throughout the pastimes of Krishna, or even Lord Ram for that matter, we always find that Lakshman, Balaramji, Nityananda Prabhu, they are the mood of being assistants. So when Lakshman was asked why he went on Vanvas when it was only meant for Ram, he said, when you go out, you don't leave your shadow behind. Do you keep your shadow at home and then go out alone, shadow ghar par reh gaya, No. He said, I am the shadow of Lord Ram. I will go along with him. There's no way that I cannot go along with him. So, when the same Lakshman comes as Balaram, he becomes the shadow of Krishna. He assists Krishna in all rasas. In Shantaras, Balaram appears as Krishna's shoes. He appears as Krishna's Venu. He appears as Krishna's Murali. He appears as Krishna's garlands. He appears as Krishna's stick. He appears as Krishna's abode, Vrindavan. When Srila Prabhupada was searching for land, the devotees, they told Prabhupada that we couldn't find any land. Prabhupada said simply one thing, why don't you pray to Lord Balaram? And Balaram came in the dream of one devotee and he said, I will tell you where you will get land. And within 3.5 weeks, they got a land donation. Simply praying to Balaram, This is the whole idea of Balaram. So as Shantaras, Balaram appears in all these ways. In Dasyaras, Balaram massages the feet of Lord Krishna. And of course, Krishna also massages Balaram's feet. But so when Balaram massages Krishna's feet, the quality of the massage that Balaram gives Krishna is so amazing. Massage can be of different qualities. There are some devotees, by massaging they can break your back, literally, That's another quality of massage, Some devotees are like so powerful, they press your hand, your bones will break, So you need to understand also what is the quality of massage that needs to be done. So when Balaram massages Krishna, he knows exactly how much pressure Krishna wants in each part of his body. Intuitively he understands and gives that. And that's the whole idea of pleasing the Lord. In Sakyaras, Balaram has fun with Krishna and he's in this friendly mood with Krishna. One day, Balaram told Krishna, Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj both are so fair. How come you are dark? And Krishna was totally bewildered. He was very, very small to even comprehend this. And Balaram tells him that actually you are not their child. They bought you from the market. And because they bought you from the market, you are a different color. And Krishna started crying. He couldn't understand how he was bought from the market, So now, obviously now you can't analyze this, There is no purport to this. This is Sakya. Sakya Ras has no purports. It's just fun, enjoyment, So, in Vatsalya Ras, Balaram is a parent. He is concerned about Krishna. Anytime Krishna is in trouble, Balaram runs immediately to help Krishna. He is very, very concerned about Krishna's safety. If Krishna gets a small scratch also, Balaram is very, very concerned. Balaram does not leave Krishna anytime. He is always with Krishna. And one of the reasons Balaram is always with Krishna in Vrindavan is just to keep a watch on him. The elder brother's role is a thankless role in one sense, The younger brother is always, he is careless, carefree, doesn't bother. But somehow the elder brother, the role of the elder brother is to become like a second father only, literally, Without, whether you want it or don't want it, you end up becoming that. So Balaram was always concerned about Krishna's safety and welfare. And that role of Balram that he does, in all these different aspects of what Balram does for Krishna, in one sense, the spiritual master does for all of us also. The spiritual master is our friend. The spiritual master is our father. The spiritual master is a great extent, serving us in so many ways, I mean, I'm sure so many of us have experienced, being fed by our spiritual master, things that he has cooked himself, I mean, why does the spiritual master have to cook for a disciple? But the spiritual master does that, out of desire to serve. The spiritual master does every single role that Balram does to Krishna. So that is the way the spiritual master trains us to develop this whole idea of dasya in all the bhavs. The underlying within all the bhavs, there is a dasya, there is a desire to serve. Another very important gift the spiritual master gives us is the gift of understanding our shortcomings. As we grow up in our lives, nobody tells us what you're doing wrong, isn't it? When we are small, our parents are there to tell us, you're doing this wrong. And then as you become a little bigger, teachers are there to tell us, you're doing this wrong. But as you become big, and especially as you become successful in life, there is nobody there to tell you that you're doing something wrong. And that's when the role of a spiritual master becomes very important, to tell us, you are wrong. This is a shortcoming. The classic example is Narad Muni and Vyasdev. Now Vyasdev, what all he has written? He has already written Mahabharata. He has already written the 18 Puranas. He has already written the 108 Upanishads. He has already written the 4 Vedas. After writing so much, Narad Muni tells him, you are wrong. It requires a lot of humility to digest that, isn't it? And Vyasdev had the humility to digest that, and more importantly, he had a guru to tell him that. Imagine if we are not fortunate to have someone who tells you you are wrong. That possibly is the worst thing that can happen in your life. Most people grow up their entire life not having a single person who can tell them that they are wrong, especially when they are successful. And that is why the spiritual master is so important in our life. Some Siksha Guru, some Diksha Guru who can tell you on your face, you are wrong. This is a wrong understanding. That probably is one of the greatest gifts the spiritual master can give us. Over and above the whole thing, what the spiritual master gives us is something called parampara. The greatness of the Guru Sishya parampara is that the spiritual master exposes us to a whole plethora of acharyas, a whole plethora of powerful people. In today's world, especially of self-created gurus, this is very interesting. Most self-created gurus, they say the buck ends at me. I know and I teach. There is nobody above me, there is nobody after me. In today's world of self-created gurus, the parampara is a breather. Here is a spiritual master telling, there are more powerful people than me. And here is a spiritual master who is wanting his disciples and grand disciples to become more powerful than him. Srila Prabhupada, he actually wanted his disciples and grand disciples to write books, to preach the message, to become more powerful than him. And when his disciples would come back showing the transformation that they have created, the powerful effect that they are preaching at that, Prabhupada would become so happy. In the last days of Srila Prabhupada, he derived great joy in hearing the achievements of his disciples. Why? Prabhupada was feeling joy thinking that the parampara is going to continue. He was feeling great joy thinking that the disciplic succession is going to continue. And there is nothing greater joy for a spiritual master than to understand that his legacy is going to continue forever. And more than that, the idea of exposing us to so many more powerful people, it requires a lot of humility, isn't it? To tell the world that there are more powerful people than me. My guru is more powerful than me. His guru is more powerful than him. His guru is even more powerful. It requires a lot of stuff. It requires a lot of substance. The spiritual master, the greatest gift of the spiritual master is a parampara.
we will never be able to complete reading what the acharyas have written down. If we spend every single day of our life and every single minute of our life reading the commentaries, reading the works of all our acharyas or all our Vaishnava teachers, lifetime will fall short, but the information will not fall short. That's the greatness of the parampara system. Imagine if there was only one guru. How much can that person give? What level of knowledge will that person give? What will be the capacity of that person to give? And how much information can he research? There's always going to be a limitation. And therefore, the parampara is probably the greatest gift of the spiritual master. And of course, of all the gifts of the spiritual master, perhaps the most powerful gift is the holy name. The spiritual master gives us access to the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, the holy name of the Lord. And within that holy name, everything is there. Within that holy name, practically everything is there. So when we carry the holy name of the Lord, in our hearts, it really gives us the strength to connect with the Supreme Lord. When Hanumanji was jumping from this side of the ocean to the other side, Hanumanji was thinking that he had the ring that Lord Ram had given him. And Hanumanji was contemplating, this ring that I have, where do I keep it? Safe, so that it doesn't get lost. He said, if I keep it in my hand, it might happen that if I have to fight with some demon, it might slip and fall off. He thought, if I put it on my thread, Janayu, it might snap during a fight and fall off. If I keep it in my dhoti, tucked in his cloth, again it might slip and fall off. Hanuman was thinking, where do I keep this, the ring that Lord Ram gave? And then he saw the ring carefully. In that ring, the name of Ram was written. And then he realized, the only place that the ring can be kept is where the name belongs, in the mouth. And he kept the ring under his tongue. And throughout the entire journey, Lord Ram's name was under the tongue of Hanumanji. And because the ring, which had Lord Ram's name was under his tongue, his entire body was so effulgent. It was shining like a million lights. Kanchana Varana, this whole... Why was Hanumanji's body shining so powerfully? The reason was because the holy name of the Lord was inside his mouth. And that is the greatest gift of the spiritual master. He keeps the holy name of the Lord in his mouth constantly. Because of that, he is so effulgent. And then he gives us the holy name of the Lord so that we can keep it in our mouth eternally, so that we also can eventually become effulgent. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. The funny thing is, I didn't even know I was supposed to give a lecture today. I realized at 6:30 that I'm supposed to give a lecture today. And the fact that I gave a lecture, that is a gift of the spiritual master.